Okay, most of you have things to fix up on them. And then I want to make sure we're kind of getting ready for our quiz tomorrow. So why don't you grab your notes on the imperfect? Let's look at it together here for a second. And then I want to kind of have you quiz yourself. And then I've actually got a practice quiz for you later. So I want you to make sure you know your endings. I want you to make sure you know why to use the imperfect, all right? Yesterday, you were supposed to answer those questions for me, and you were also supposed to do one more practice. If you haven't done that, I recommend you do it, A, for the practice and B, for the points. So grab your notes. They should be under class resources, or if you've been to class, you have them. I'm sharing them real quick. Here's what I would like you to do. Why don't you spend 1 minute reviewing your notes, and then we're going to see what you know. So here's what you need to know. You need to know what the imperfect tense is. You need to know why you would use the imperfect tense. You need to know your imperfect tense endings right here, right? And accents, of course, count. And then I would expect you to know these 3 irregulars. All right, and I said if you don't know them or when you're learning them, learn the yo form, yo form, yo form. And then they all follow the same pattern, right? Once you get to the to form, you add the S. The L form's the same, you add the most, and you add the N. So again, really it's just 3 words, iba, era, veía. All right, so I would like to give you 1 minute, 1 interrupted minute to refresh, especially since you haven't looked at this stuff maybe in a day or 2, or I don't know, maybe you used it yesterday, maybe you didn't. And then we're gonna kind of see what you know.
Have your attention, please. The situation requiring the use of shelter-in-place procedures has passed. You may now resume your regular schedule. Thanks to all for your cooperation.
Good job for sitting there and doing what you normally do. Okay. All right, so you're looking, you're quizzing yourself. Do you know Waters? Do you know your endings? I did screen share them in case you were having problems, but it's better if you're looking at your own because then you can just flip through them on your own. Quiz yourself, cover it up. Do you know them? And then your irregulars. Abia is one I just expect you to recognize. I won't necessarily put that on there. So really it's just iba, era, and veía. All right, I'm going to take this down in just a second, and then I'll ask for some volunteers, and you see what you know. Take 30 seconds more, quiz yourself. All right, I'm taking it down, turning it off. Let's see what we know. All right, so I'm looking for a bunch of volunteers here. Get yourself some points, especially if you haven't recently. I would say participation grade, you know, the end of the week, early next week. So you tell me, why would I use the imperfect tense? Why? So I would try to do this without looking at your notes. Kind of quiz yourself. Do you know why to use the imperfect tense? Sylvia, give me something to start with. The weather. Okay, weather would be a good reason. Anthony?
The time.
The time. Good. Maggie?
Setting.
Setting, like the background information. Good. Quentin?
Age.
Age. Talking about age. Good. Hannah?
Emotions or feelings.
Hey, how you were feeling. Great. Did I get them all? Like I have no hands up. Maddie, did I miss one? Go ahead, Maddie.
I don't know, but repeated actions.
Repeated actions. Good. All right. So in your head, don't say it out loud yet. You're thinking of that word. That helps you remember all those reasons. What is that word, class A? Waters. Okay. Now, these are all reasons, but not in the present tense. So somebody else raise your hand and tell me. These verbs all have to be in what tense for this to be true, Jacob? Past tense. All right. So like when you're talking about what the weather was like, what age you were, what time it was, what I used to do. So those kinds of things would require you to use the imperfect. All right. So now what does it look like? I want you to picture it in your head before somebody says it out loud. Do you know what your AR endings look like? Okay. I know it's a rhetorical question. All right, think about it in your head. If I give you a verb like hablar, could you put it in the yo form? Yes or no? All right, now I would take a hand. Somebody tell me, what would hablar look like? I used to talk. What would that look like? I used to talk. Let's see. I used to talk. I'm just seeing if anybody could super use a point or hasn't gone. Haley hasn't gone yet. Go ahead, Haley. Say it again. Uh-huh. Uh-huh, perfect. Hablaba, right? So once you get the yo form, then it usually flows from there, right? Yo form is the same as the, just say it, you don't need to raise your hand, as the L form. The to form you add in S. Nosotros add the mos, and ellos add the N, the on, right? So it all follows this pattern. All right, show me on your hand how many accent marks on an AR verb. How many forms have an accent? How many forms? Good. What is it? Which one? Nosotros. Good. So habamos. All right, great. So you're going to get that half right. All right, now let's talk about ER and IR. Picture them in your head. All right, again, if you've got your notes up, maybe just don't stare at them right now. Just minimize them for a minute. So can you picture them in your head? Yes or no? It's just a rhetorical question to yourself. All right, so first of all, what if I had the verb tener? Somebody want to tell me what would the yo form look like? I used to have. Victoria, I used to have. Tenía, she says. Good. And then it follows the same pattern. Tenías, tenía, teníamos, tenía. And tell me accents. Show me on your hand. Accents, accents on an ER-IR, ER-IR. How many? Looking online. I got Liliana up. Who else? There's Kaylee. There's Maggie. Cuantos acentos? Good. All of them. Over the I. Perfect. Okay. So now we're down to 3. And these were the 3 that we practiced a little less. Hopefully you did your work yesterday. Okay. That's why I give you those textbook assignments, not to waste your time, not because I'm like, oh gosh, I have to give them something to do. No, because I want you to practice your irregulars. How many irregulars do we have? I trace. All right. Oh, I have them behind me. So basically, you just need to learn the yo form, and then I'm confident if you know the pattern of all the rest that you'll get the yo form. So we've got ser, we've got ear, we've got ver. All right, so do you know them? Again, rhetorical question. In your head, you're thinking, do I know these? All right, well, let's see. What would the yo form of ser be? Looking for somebody maybe that hasn't gotten a point, that has less points. How about Josh, maybe? Josh, can you tell me what ser would be?
Wait, say that again.
What would ser be in the imperfect? I used to be. Starts with an E if that helps.
I.
E, okay, I see what you're saying. You're giving me the ending. Are you looking at your notes? Do you have your notes handy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want me to say the
Pull
whole?
back up, go to the end where you see the irregulars and tell me what would the yo form of ser be? You see it?
Hold on. Say what? Hold on. Say it again.
That's okay. You have your notes, right?
Oh, Sarah.
Yeah?
Air.
Yeah, there it is. Era. Clase repitan, era. Uh-huh. And once you know era, then you get the rest because you have eras, era, éramos, eran. All right, this word comes up a lot. We're going to look for this word when we go to our questions that you were supposed to write for me yesterday. Because I used to be. When I was little, I used to be funny. I used to be shy. I used to be loud, however you used to be. Okay? All right, how about ear? I used to go. I used to go. Tucker, you want to tell me I used to go?
It's Ia, right? I don't know.
Okay, so ia is your IR ending. I want the whole verb I used to go. Are you looking at your notes?
Yeah,
Okay, go to the back to the second page. Find the verb ear. What's that yo form?
it's Ia. I don't know how to say it with the.
Well, ia is the ending, but I want you to go to the second page where you have the irregular verbs, because this is a whole verb ear, to go. You see it on that second page, like there's there and ear.
Iba or something.
There it is. Iba. All right, clase, repitan. Iba. Iba. And then from there, ibas, iba, íbamos, iban. I used to go. Now, on this one, you almost always have a little A after it because you're saying, I used to go to the park. I used to go to my grandma's. So we'll look at that when we go back to those questions in a minute. All righty. And finally, there. It's almost not irregular. Let's see. Dalia, you want to give me there? Dalia, are you there?
I'm here. What was the question?
Huh? There. Can you tell me what there is in the imperfect?
You said, can I tell you what there is?
Like what the form is for there? Like I used to see. If you're looking at your notes, it's at the very bottom of the back page. It's almost not irregular. It just has an extra E in it.
I forgot.
I'm going to come back to you, okay? Okay. All right. Somebody want to help her out? I'll open back up. Anthony? Okay. So look, usually you'd have, right, if I was just doing it normally, it would be via. But it's not via. We added in what letter?
Is it E?
Thanks, Leah. Yeah. So it would be veía. All right, clase, repitan, veía. I used to see. All right. So these are the three that were the new ones. If you didn't do your homework yesterday, right, or your assignment yesterday, I highly recommend you do that so you're feeling a little better about those. This is what it practices. It's literally just those three verbs. So, all right. So we're going to kind of use this now to look at those sentences from yesterday. And I want to give you some time to finish them, to correct them, to ask some questions so that they are in better shape than they are now. Everybody that turned one in, even if I marked it complete, there are probably some suggestions for you. So we want to look at these together. These are going to turn into a speaking quiz next week. So I want to make sure that you have good answers before you start studying them and practicing them. All right. So if let's see, I want you basically to go to your current lesson, and it is linked there under number 2. So I will show you what I'm looking at, but I want you to make sure you are looking at yours. All right, and this is one of those things, like I said, I want you to correct it. So you've already submitted it, you're going to correct it and resubmit it. If I marked it as incomplete, you had some big errors. If I marked it as complete, I still probably gave you some suggestions that you're going to want to clean up before we try and memorize these. So let me just read this to you. I want to go through, make sure you know what each one means. I want to talk through each one so that you have the best answer possible for yourself. Okay? So I am sharing my screen really fast just so you can see where I am, but I really want you looking at your own thing. Okay? So this is what I'm looking at. I'll go through these questions. I'm going to stop sharing here, though, because I want you looking at your own questions. All right, everybody knows even after you've submitted them, you can go back and resubmit them, right? That's what we want to do. So we're going to clean these up together right now. All right, I'm going to stop sharing so that we can just talk these through. All right, so here's what you're doing. It says, please answer the following questions in simple and complete sentences in Spanish using the imperfect tense. All right, some of you I wrote like incomplete because you didn't use the imperfect tense. All right, that means you're either using one of these three, era, iba, reía, or your verb ends with aba or ia. That makes it in the imperfect tense. All right, then it says you're going to practice these, memorize them, and present them to me probably towards mid to late next week. So I want to make sure you have good answers. It says do not Google Translate more than a word or two. I'll tell you in a minute what you can look up. A, they don't translate it right half the time. And B, it gets hard to memorize if you start getting things too complicated. So I need it simple, simple, simple. Okay? All right, so we're going to go through each question right now. Make sure you're paying attention. Make sure you're checking what you wrote and you're fixing it as needed. All right, because then you're going to memorize them and you're going to present it probably as a 30-point quiz next week. All right, so cuando eras niño o niña, ¿cómo eras? Is the question. Somebody want to first of all translate that. If you want to write this down somewhere, write it down in English. That's fine. When I ask you these questions, I might mix up the order. So you're going to have to listen to what I ask you. Okay, you're not just going to go boom, 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 boom. I'm going to ask you. All right, so numero uno, what's it mean? Can I get a quick volunteer? What's it mean? What's it mean? Cuando eras niño, ¿cómo eras?
How were you as a kid?
Yes, thank you, Leah. All right, so as a kid, as a child, how were you? As in, what were you like? All right. Now you can look at the question. You're going to pull your verb right out of the question. I don't want to see the verb estaba. Okay. If you remember, estar is how you feel and where you are. I don't want to know how you were feeling as a kid. I don't want to know where you were located. I want to know what you were like. So you need to use this word era. Right? Tell me what you were like. I was funny. I was shy. I was bad. I was loud. I was cute. Now, if you don't know the word loud, you can Google Translate that. That is okay. All right. If you don't know the word for shy, Google Translate it. If you don't know the word for happy, right, however you want to describe yourself is fine. That word you can look up. The verb you shouldn't need to because it's right there. Right? It's in the question. Just put it in the yo form. You could add cuando era niño as a little boy or cuando era niña as a little girl. I used to be blah, blah. Now, let me tell you, this will be a quiz. If you can tell me one thing, great. You can tell me two things that describe you. Would that add to your score? Sure. Right? So you decide where you're at. One thing is fine. But if you're a solid student in here or you're trying to improve your grade, think of two things you could tell me. All right, so I'll pause on that one for just a second. I want you to fix up your answer. On Friday, we'll go through some examples in Spanish, but today is your day to just come up with your own answer if you didn't already, or fix it if it's not in good condition. Or ask me a question if you're not sure about something. Ask right now. You put it in the chat. You can raise your hand. No, don't worry about that, Victoria. I'm not worried about these being late. I just want them to be in good condition. So if you didn't turn it in, turn it in. Okay, question is, why would you use the verb ser? Because ser means used to be. The question is, what were you like? So I want you to tell me, I used to be funny. I used to be bad. I used to be loud. So you're describing your personality. In present tense, right, you'd say, yo soy, I am. So now we're using the imperfect tense to say what you were like as a kid. Charles, did you have a question? Was that yeah or no? You want to ask? Go ahead. You sure? Okay. Anybody else have a question on that? I will say, if you're a boy, make sure if your word ends with a vowel, make sure it's tinido. If you're a girl, tinida. So let's clean it all up. All right, let's look at number 2. ¿Qué hacías los fines de semana? Somebody want to translate that one for me? Nora, give me your sentence. Put it on the chat and I'll take a look at it. All right, somebody want to translate number 2 for me? ¿Qué hacías los fines de semana? What's that mean? Hannah, what's it mean?
What did you used to do on the weekends?
Okay, so what did you used to do on the weekends? So, I don't know. You're probably not going to say, I used to do, I used to play. You're probably just going to tell me, I used to play basketball. I used to go to the park. I used to eat ice cream. I used to play with my Barbies. I used to play with my action figures. I used to build with blocks. Or if you don't want to look up the word build, then you could say just play with blocks. So you can use things from your vocab or not. Here's where you can Google Translate. If you need to look up a word, like you really want to say I used to build with blocks and you don't know the word build, look it up. Then you're going to put it in the imperfect. So if it's an AR verb, put an ABA on it. If it's an ER-IR verb, put an IA on it. All right, so I'll pause for a minute. Okay, so Nora, I'm looking at your question. I think that's a great answer, but that would be more for number 2. Because in number 1, I want to know what were you like. So again, give me an adjective. And then in number 2, use what you wrote there for what you used to do. Okay, let me know if that does not make sense. Let me know. All right, so again, come up with an activity. I used to do gymnastics. I used to, come up with any sport. I used to run. I used to paint. I used to draw. Think about all the fun things you did as a kid and tell me one. And again, if you want to check it, I got somebody putting something in there. That's fine. Yes. Tucker, you just technically you'd say Iba all, and then the rest of your sentence there. I put it in the chat. Yes, Maddie, I believe you would, because you're saying what you used to be like. Estaba would be used for how you were feeling or your location. Okay, we ready for number 3? De niña or niño. Que te gustaba? I'm going to help you with this verb in a second. Que te gustaba? What's te gustaba? What's me gusta? Que te gustaba? Caliana? Oh, not there. Okay, JK, not here. Somebody else has at least a couple points. That's good. All right, I don't know. Que te gustaba? What's it mean? You haven't gone yet today. Get your point. Que te gustaba? Liliana?
What did you like?
Okay, what did you like? Now I'm going to help you with this verb because this verb is different. Okay, you're going to pull the verb right out of the question. Okay, here's how you're going to start number 3. Pay attention. You're either going to say me gustaba if it's one thing that you used to like, or me gustaban with an N on the end if it's more than one thing you used to like. All right, so I'll say that again. If it's one thing you used to like, me gustaba. Okay, I used to like ice cream. Or if you used to like to play a sport, or you used to like to run, or any kind of verb, me gustaba. If it's more than one thing, I used to like dolls, trains, action figures, stuffed animals, whatever, me gustaban with an N at the end. All right, so again, that one's kind of easy. Just pull it right out of the question. Yes, Nora, but use the word era. Remember, a star would be feeling or location. Then you're good. Tucker, yes, get rid of the word L in there. Just los muñecos. Yeah, so again, all these, if you want to throw it in the chat, ask. Otherwise, you can resubmit it, and I can relook at it that way. Even if I marked yours complete, if you want me to just check for grammar after we go through it, I'm happy to do that for you again. So you just resubmit anything you want to. All right, número 4, ¿qué comías? What does that mean? ¿Qué comías? What do you think? ¿Qué comías, Charles? What did you used to eat? So, I don't know. As a kid, think about it. When you were 5, when you were 6, when you were 7, there's no exact age. As a kid, what things did you like to eat? And again, if you don't know how to say it, that's a good thing to Google Translate. All right? So if you want to say, you probably know chicken, but if you want to say chicken nuggets, Google Translate it. Okay, pizza is pretty easy. Cheeseburger, not a hard word, but Google Translate it. Hamburger, grilled cheese. I don't know. You can say a cheese sandwich if you want to keep it simple. Be a sandwich of cheese. But those are the kinds of things I'm totally fine with you Google translating. It's no different than looking up in a dictionary, which is what we used to do. No, I'll make it, if you resubmit it, I will recorrect it and I will make it complete, okay? Yes, Nora, looks good. All right, give you a second to find your food. Then we get ready for numero 5. We ready for 5? All right, ¿adonde ibas? Somebody asked if they put theirs in the comments. I don't know if I'll see it. If you put your corrections in the comments, I don't know if it tells me that you've done that. So I don't know, you might want to resubmit it, or just send me a message and say my corrections are in the comments, so I make sure I don't miss that, because I don't think it tells me that it's a new submission. Okay, ¿adonde ibas como un niño o niña? What am I asking about? ¿Adonde ibas? It's one of our irregular verbs we just went through. What's it mean? What's it mean? What's it mean? What's it mean? I know you know it. Get your hand up. I'll give you a point. Jacob. So where'd you used to go? All right. So I want you to use this irregular verb that we just went over. Then I'll probably want you to put a little after it, because you probably used to go to the store, or to the children's museum, or to the zoo, or to the library, or to the park. So you're gonna have a little after it. Now, here's the little deal. If you put an and your next word starts with an L, you smush those together into the word all. So if you went to the park, al parque. If you went to the museum, al museo. If you went to the zoo, al zoológico. So check it out. Again, if you need to translate your place, that's fine. All right, look up the word zoo. It's easy. You could even do children's museum, the Museum of Children. That's an easy expression. So figure out where you used to go. Yes, let's see. Nora, let me answer you on here. So in your case, because it's escuela, it would be a la escuela. Oh, good question. I'm glad you asked. All right. If you said you like to eat like fish, here's the deal. The word pez from your vocab list is like a little fish swimming around in your bowl. All right. You're not going to eat your little goldfish. So if you're going to eat fish, you use the word pescado. Okay. I'll put that in the chat for the person that asked, but just so you know. All right. Good question. You don't want to eat your little goldfish pet. So put pescado. All right, did you come up with a place for you to go? All right, so I would like you to resubmit it if you made some changes, because again, as I asked you to start practicing these, we'll do practice in class, and then you'll work on it on your own, and I don't want you to practice them if they're not right. So if I marked it incomplete, obviously resubmit it. If you didn't turn it in, resubmit or submit it. And even if I marked it as complete, if you want me to recheck it, just resubmit it. And I'll get those checked later today. All right, I don't know where we're at. People need a few minutes on this, or are we good? Who needs a few minutes to make these corrections and get this finished? Or did I go slow enough? All right, I see a handful of hands. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do what I originally said I would do. I'm gonna give you 5 minutes. So if you go back to your current lesson, if you're done, look, I gave you first 5 minutes of class was going to be speaking questions or Quizlet. So listen, if you're working on the speaking questions, I'll set my timer. I'll give you 5 minutes. If you're done with that, go ahead and jump on Quizlet. It's right there under number 1 on your current lesson, and take 5 minutes on Quizlet. I will say probably vocab quiz next week. So use your time one way or the other. I already started it. You got 5 minutes. If you have more questions, put them in the chat. Somebody said, is tomorrow have vocab on it? Not really. Okay, tomorrow is really focused on the imperfect. Vocab will be next week, and then the speaking thing will be next week, running into the next week. Okay, I'm also catching up on my chat, so if you have a question, ask. Otherwise, you're working, you're resubmitting, or you're on Quizlet. Maddie, I see your question, but I don't know what you're referring to. Can you ask me again if you still have that question about the pizza? I see the or, but I don't know what the first part of your question was.
Yeah. So for number 2, I just put like comía pizza.
Uh-huh.
Is that right, or is that just like I eat pizza?
Well, that would be I used to eat pizza.
Okay.
So that's fine. The only problem is it's real similar then to number 4, right?
Yeah.
So do you have a different answer for number 4, or make that one into number 4 and come up with a general, like a different one for number 2? I say one way or the other. You got your practice quiz here, and then I'll let you go get to it. So couple things. So you have resubmitted. It's looking like I have 11 that have been submitted since we've been talking. And so hopefully that's yours. If not, get it in. All right, you can work on them right now. Number 2, so quiz tomorrow over the imperfect. What do you need to know? Why to use it and how to use it. You need to know your endings. You need to know your 3 irregulars. Era, iba, veía. All right. What I have done is put together a little practice quiz for you. So why don't I direct you there, and then if you're good to go, you can work on that kind of at your own pace here. I gave you unlimited times to do it. So if you go back to your current lesson, click on number 4. It is the imperfect practice quiz. All right. If you click on that, it should be open. There's no password on it. You should be able to see that I just gave you a big paragraph with some words to fill in. So I would say tomorrow that is definitely part of your quiz. It'll be you filling in some words in the imperfect tense. Let me remind you, there are only 3 irregulars. So if it's not one of those 3, just use the stem and aba or ia. Pay attention to your accents. I did put a little note at the top. It says if the verb is reflexive, remember that has a say on the end. There are a couple on here. Just put the mete, say, or nos in front, and then your normal aba, abas, aba, whatever the ending is. Like I said, it's set to show you your answers. It's set to give you as many chances as you want. This is 100% just practice. So I would treat it like that. Take it as many times as you want. And if you need to use your notes on it the first time, use your notes. Then take it again without your notes. Do what you want with this. It is not for points. It is 100% for practice. Charles. Yeah, let me get to pass. All right, so online friends, if you see your practice quiz and you don't need to talk to me about anything specific, I am happy to say hasta luego, be ready for your quiz tomorrow. And we'll go from there. We'll pick it up there tomorrow. Otherwise, stay on for a second. I know, Maddie, we can talk. And then I'll touch base with you guys.